Was the pipe bomb plot politically motivated? Hello, and welcome to The Square Circle. I'm your host, Heather Godwin. Joining us today are political reporter James Rosen, Michael Shindler of Young Voices, and Kelly Vlahos of The American Conservative. Welcome, everyone. It's nice to have you here tonight. Thank you for coming. On Wednesday, several explosive devices arrived through the mail at the offices and homes of several Democratic figures, including Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and Maxine Waters, as well as liberal philanthropist George Soros and CNN. None of the devices detonated, and at this time there's still no word on who is behind this plot. James Rosen, do you think this is politically motivated?
Well, I think whoever would go to the trouble of sending 10 bombs all over the place to 10 different people, wrapping them up, creating what might be, they're either bad bombs or fake bombs, because they don't seem to work.
Yeah.
Whoever would go to all that trouble is, first of all, in all likelihood, crazy. So even if it turns out that it is politically motivated either by an anti-Trump figure or a pro-Trump figure trying to make it look like an anti-Trump figure, the person's just going to, in my prediction, the person's just going to be viewed as a nut job, and so it's probably not going to have a lot of impact politically. I saw it on the news, network news, just before I left my home, that they think that at least 3 of the bombs came from a place that I know because I used to cover Washington, D.C. for the Miami Herald, called Opa-locka. It's a town in Miami-Dade County, and Miami-Dade County is one of the most liberal blue counties in Florida. It may be the most blue county in Florida. Of course, that doesn't mean everyone who lives there is liberal or a Democrat, but it certainly is different than if the bombs had been coming from the Panhandle or other parts of Florida. It doesn't prove anything. Mm-hmm. It's just a little hint. So I think that to sum up, I think the bombs were motivated by insanity more than politics, but there probably will be some politics mixed in there.
Michael Shindler, what's your opinion?
On the bombs, I think that the real news story is that these figures aren't getting more bombs every day. Like when I first saw the articles, I figured in a nation of 300 and some odd million, only 1 bomb per person, not 50. I figured they would have special mailboxes for these things. It's I don't know. I think that it's a non-issue. These bombs were shoddily constructed or fake bombs. According to a recent report, some of them had mock ISIS flags on them with a little "Get Her Done" written in the center. This isn't a real news story, and it's become a news story merely because it helps the liberal media have folks buy into its narrative that they're under attack. These figures are truly under attack. When if they were under attack, these would have been bombs that worked.
Oh, that's an interesting point of view. Kelly Vlahos, what do you think?
Well, I agree with my co-panelists here that it's probably a crazy person behind this. What I lament is, and the fallout, no pun intended, of these bomb scares is that it's just ratcheting up the polarized climate in Washington and beyond right now. So we have, I've been on Twitter and you see people talking about how this is all Trump's fault. He's been inflaming and inciting violence among his base, and then Trump pushes back. He first reacts by saying we should have more unity, but once he starts feeling the pressure and getting the kickback on social media, he goes to a rally last night and talks about the liberal media and how they need to calm down. So throughout the last 24 hours, you've just seen this sort of war of words back and forth that we've become used to since 2016. But all this does is basically, like Michael says, feeds into each side's narrative. And I'm afraid that it's just, we had a little calm down after Kavanaugh, but I feel like it's ratcheting up again.
I have to, as I often do on this program, I have to defend the media. The notion that this is an exaggerated story is, with all due respect, ridiculous. When 2 former presidents get, if nobody else but the 2 former presidents had gotten what appeared to be bombs, that would be a huge story. And then you add in all the other people who got what could have been bombs, what may have been tried to be bombs. To say that this is a liberal media conspiracy, that's just, this is
Yeah, but I didn't say it was a
no, I wasn't,
conspiracy.
I'm sorry, I wasn't talking to you, I was talking with Michael, because he said that, I should have made that, I should have made that clear. But that's, this is a huge, huge story. It's not a liberal plot. It's not, the media exaggerating it. If you're in the news business, if you're in the serious news business, this is a serious big story you have to cover.
Right, James, but I think you were right on the first time when you said that this is probably a crank, and it probably isn't about the politics. It's probably about somebody's insanity. What I was saying was that the media is using this to feed their narrative that Trump has caused all this. And this is borne out in a chyron on CNN this morning that said police looking for a guy who's going after Trump targets, as though Trump ordered a hit and this guy was just following orders.
Well, I have to say, Rachel Maddow last night, she's specific, and she's, she epitomizes in some ways of MSNBC, the liberal media. She pushed back very hard against it. She said, we cannot jump to conclusions. She said it repeatedly.
I'm happy that somebody had.
Yeah, so I mean, it's said that just because the media is covering this as a big story, I still don't see how. I have not heard mainstream media blaming this on Trump. I really haven't.
I have.
In straight news coverage. Where? Which outlet?
On CNN.
On CNN?
Yes.
Okay.
They're immediately bringing Trump into the story. And like I just mentioned, that chyron, making it sound like this guy was specifically going over Trump targets. Now,
well,
okay, they're
true.
all Democrats.
Well, but that's a matter of fact.
But it insinuates just just that slight bias in the chyron that he was going after Trump targets. Like Trump illustrated a number of targets and said, "Go for it, crazy people."
All 10 people were Trump targets. I mean,
Well,
anyway.
And I think that
Target implies violence. It wasn't Trump opponents. It wasn't Trump, politicians who disagreed with Trump. It was targets, which implies violence.
They were people he made targets during the campaign.
Right, but if he didn't make them targets, like he didn't put a bullseye on their back and said, have at it, crazy people, which I feel like there's just that slight bias that, if you're on the conservative side or on the right, you get it. You know what the difference is between a straight sort of headline and something that's sort of like sticking the shiv in or reading between the lines. And that's what people on the right react to, and they have been for a long time. So I'm just saying, as an editor on the right, I can see this coming down Broadway.
And Michael, I find it interesting that you take it a little bit less seriously. How do you perceive this?
Well, these are there's no proof right now that any of these bombs were functional. They could be, or that they could be functional. There's no manifesto attached. Trump didn't order a hit, as Kelly had pointed out earlier. These are merely either badly made bombs or fake bombs sent by a probably insane person. This isn't news. This is what happens in a big country.
So you think that it's just somebody that's having a good time down in Opelika, Florida, just outside of Miami, which is actually a pretty small town and could be a bastion of conservative thinking. So you think, someone's just sitting back and going, let's see if this gets any attention.
Maybe. I mean, I hope it doesn't even come from a true bastion of conservative thinking, because these are pretty shoddily made bombs. I hope it's not a good conservative making these things. Ted Kaczynski could have done better, and he did.
But if someone stands outside the White House with a rifle, with an assault weapon, and it's kind of a badly functioning gun and it doesn't work and so on and so forth, but points it at the White House, he or she still going to get charged with assassination. I mean, and this gentleman or woman will get charged with, men do these things, will get charged with attempted assassination.